Hey everyone, good to be here. Thank you for your time today. I guess our next shark is just arriving. Let's wait for him. All right, let's get started. My name is Shubhendu. I'm the co-founder of a project called Dabba.com based out of India. We are deploying Wi-Fi networks and let's get started. So what we are doing is we are doing asset tokenization, essentially helping you own a piece of internet infrastructure in India. So Dabba is the literal Hindi word for a box. So we deploy Wi-Fi, so we are Wi-Fi in a box. What you see over here is our live dashboard. We are live in more than 1,000 of locations in Bangalore and Pune, a couple of cities in India. And we are basically asset tokenization the internet connectivity. Before I get into the details how you can own a piece of this infrastructure, I want to talk about a little more about why this is important. So what you see over here is the world map of penetration of internet connectivity world across. Still, world over, there are close to 3 billion people out there who don't have access to internet connectivity, which is huge. We talk about just about the Southern Asia, we have over 1 billion people who do not have internet access. This is a big problem to solve for not just for India, but all the emerging markets. I want to give you a perspective of how the difference in the connectivity landscape is. We talk about China with a population of 1.4 billion people. There are roughly around over 600 million broadband connections out there. Talk about USA, for a population of 300 million, there are around 120 million broadband connections. Coming to India, with a population size similar to that of China, we have only 30 million broadband connections. So the difference is huge. Opportunity is big, and it has to be solved at scale. According to the World Bank studies, which is out there on the internet, a 10% penetration in the broadband connectivity for a nation directly impacts the GDP of the country by 1%. So it's a huge impact problem that we are solving here for, and I think this needs to be solved in this decade. All right, let's take a quick look of how this infrastructure gets deployed, why it is critical to deploy, and what are the key pillars of this infrastructure that needs to, the deployment takes care of. So you have access to technology, which is essentially your Cisco's and the Ericssons of the world building your hardware and software for telecoms. You have operating licenses from the governments. You have to work closely with them to get, it's a highly regulated industry. The operational capabilities, which is the actual know-how, how you deploy the infrastructure on ground. And of course, the infrastructure capital, which is your financing of the, the hardware and the other tools in the platform. What we have been doing over here, we have been for the last 5 years, have been building this low-cost hardware and the software that powers the entire infrastructure. We as a company have been working very closely with the government. We are very much working very closely and have been instrumental in writing the Wi-Fi policy for India ourselves, which came into effect in 2021. For our capabilities, we work very closely with the LCOs, the local cable operators. I'll come to about and discuss more about them in the next slide. And this is where the asset tokenization is happening, the infrastructure capital. What we have made possible through our marketplaces for anyone across the world to own a piece of this infrastructure. Anyone across the world, anyone across the globe can buy a piece of the hardware and can attach to this platform, and then they get their rewards in form of tokens, the Dabba tokens. This entire thing is happening through a marketplace model, which is called Dabba.com. The LCOs I want to talk about, they are very important part of this whole puzzle, right? So if you look at the India market or any emerging market, you will find that there will be a bunch of players, the large ISPs, the TSPs, the AT&Ts and the T-Mobiles of the world, who essentially drive the 80% of the market share. They are largely servicing the larger cities and metros. And the rest of the country, rest of the nation is essentially serviced by these small LCOs, the neighborhood players who are essentially, managing anywhere between 500 to 1,000 customers and, providing them connectivity, cable internet, and cable TV and other digital services. The biggest problem these guys face is access to technology, a marketing layer to improve their customer service, and of course, capital to scale their business. And these guys have the local capabilities to execute on ground, manage those connections, but unfortunately, they are not able to compete with these larger ISPs and TSPs because of the reasons I told. That's where we are coming in, partnering with them, bringing them on board our platform, and they are helping us execute the entire strategy on ground. So this is what we have built. This is live. Season 2 is going on sale right now as we speak. You have the LCO, the local cable operator, who's essentially deploying and managing on ground. The hotspot owner, the guy who could be anywhere in the world, is essentially buying the hardware and subsidizing the cost. The location owner, where the hardware is essentially getting deployed. The bandwidth provider, the guy who's bringing the backhaul to the device. And of course, us building the entire piece of software and hardware to run this business. Wrapped around is what you see is the PM1E framework. That's the policy name that allows us to deploy this in India. And of course, the protocol network, which has been developed and live right now as we speak, built on Solana. All the entities, stakeholders are getting rewarded. The hotspot owner deploys it, gives it to the hardware manufacturer, which is done by Dabba Inc., a subsidiary of ours, given to the LCO. Backhaul provider provides the connectivity. Location owner is getting deployed. The end user is paying for the subscription and getting internet connectivity. And the entire players in the ecosystem are getting rewarded in DBT. So that's what is happening, and it's happening live as we speak. Before I wrap up for today, I just want to summarize the biggest question that I get asked for every time, right? Mobile versus Wi-Fi. We as a company have been in this business for now 8 years, and we have seen this enough that both these technologies will coexist to solve for the connectivity problems of this world. Mobile, on one hand, has its own set of problems. It has limited spectrum. Cost is very high. You have to deploy every SIM card for every device. Speeds are limited. Indoor ranges has its own challenges. 5G cannot penetrate the walls, and so on and so forth. On the other hand, Wi-Fi gives you a very cheap connectivity solution at a very cheap price, has higher speeds, no device limitation, and can scale faster. So as far as we see the world, these two technologies will grow together to solve for the connectivity problem. We are Dabba.com, and we are a PMF market depend. Thank you.
Wow, that was quick. Ended much earlier. Okay, open up the floor for questions.
Yeah, I'm happy to start. Typical question of so you've got a good proof of concept. Can you remind us I don't remember the early figures of how many users or LCOs you have?
So we have around 30,000 connected users on our platform, servicing around 1,500 hotspots in Bangalore and Pune as we speak. Season 2 for 20,000 is going on sale next month. And those are the stats.
How do you scale from here?
We have our own set of demand that is coming in, right? We partner with a lot of local apartment associations and the co-living places where the demand is already there. So the demand side is not a challenge. The supply is what we are now scaling. That's one of the reasons we have started our outbound reach to start our device sales.
Did you partner, sorry if you mentioned it earlier, but did you partner with very specific hardware providers or?
We build our own hardware.
Okay, you build.
So we build our own hardware and software layer. That's what we do as a company, Dabba.com, yeah.
Okay. Is that the limiting factor at the moment or?
Absolutely not.
Okay. So there's demand,
There is supply, which is now kicking in. We have just started. So traditionally, we were a Web 2 company. So from 2017, we were part of Y Combinator. We are backed by YC. And essentially from there till 2022, we were doing pure Web 2. So our Web 3 happened, Multicoin reached out to us, and that's where the journey of Web 3 started. So the transition has been there. While our Web 2 business has been much bigger, Web 3 is just getting started.
Let me ask a different question then. What's the KPI? What's the proof of success?
Proof of success is the actual revenue that kicks in, right? Everyday users using the service, paying in fiat every day to connect to the device and pay for our service.
And maybe I can just elaborate on the distribution process. I think India is one of those very unique industries where you mentioned you got 15,000 hotspots. At least you're servicing those hotspots, and it's split between Pune, which is up north, Bangalore in the mid, right down south. How do you facilitate that?
The LCOs comes into picture, right? We are empowering the local cable operators. They are present on field, on ground at that location. They are managing it. We provide with them mobile applications required to manage their on ground field. We provide them with the dashboards to manage the uptime, downtime of each device. So they don't have to visit over there. Remotely, they could, the first line of services through the remote connectivity, they could solve that problem for. So those are the layer of technology that we have built over time in order to facilitate those transactions.
So there's no touch point between you and the end user?
9 out of 10 times, no. It's all done remotely.
So do the supplier participant of the network, they get paid by the DBT token?
What do you mean by supplier? If you could...
Oh, so the LCOs, the hardware manufacturer, they get paid by the token. What are their incentives to hold on to the token?
There are two incentives, right? One is the token upside price, which is obviously, the long-term view that they hold. We have to, when we onboard them, we have to explain them what's the long-term view of the token, why they should, hold on to it. That is one. Second is there are certain costs which cannot be paid into the token directly, right? So for example, they have to pay their employees. They're not going to accept a DBT or any of the token, right? They are like, what is this? We don't get it. We need fiat. So a portion of their revenues generated into fiat, and that's going to be every year 10% is what we would be reducing that. That's out there in our white paper as well and in our smart contract, where eventually by the year 7, the 100% payouts would be in DBT.
Okay, gotcha.
Could you walk us through the unit economics of the hardware component and also the kind of return profile of a hotspot owner, an LCO, like a location owner? How are returns being split?
Sure. So we have a total DBT supply of 10 billion tokens. 4 billion is reserve pool and 6 billion tokens is for community pool. So all your payouts for hotspot owners, the LCOs, will come from the 6 billion community pool. So that's the first split. In this split, we have 60% reserved for the hotspot owner, which essentially means if there are 100 tokens, 60 tokens are reserved for the hotspot owner because they are taking the most amount of risk. The remaining 40% is divided between the LCO, the local cable operator, which is 30%. Another 5% goes to the backhaul provider, and 4.5% is going towards the location owner, the guy who's providing the physical location and the electricity covering for that cost, right? So that's the split. And another 0.5% is reserved for the hardware manufacturer as an incentive to continue building for the platform.
Got it. And I guess for a hotspot owner, how much are they paying for each device, and what is the ROI based on the current usage?
Right. So the loaded cost for somebody to get on board is $299. We sold out a season one at $249. Right now we have bumped it up to $299, which includes the cost of the hardware, the deployment cost, and the gas fees that has to be burned in order to get the ownership rights for that. So the loaded cost for the end hotspot owner is $299. If you talk about the ROI, that all depends upon what will be the token price. But in all practicality, we are looking 6 to 8 months of return in terms of what they get back the investment in.
All right, cool. I think we are running out of time. Yeah, thank you so much
Thank you
for
so
a
much.
wonderful
Thank you.
pitch.
Thank you, guys.
All right, yeah.